Okay, today I'm looking at replacing the speakers, the front speakers in my 2001 Dodge Dakota. And in particular, I know that this one over here on the passenger side door is blown out. The foam on the outer edge of the speaker is deteriorated and gone. And when you turn this up to any appreciable volume, the speaker rattles. And I'm not hearing it right now, but driving along, it's hard to listen to the radio.
Freedom to do things in a different way. There's a whole lot of
hear it rattling a little bit there. This side I haven't looked at, but it doesn't sound like it's bad. But I'm going to replace them both anyway. I ended up finding these Pile Blue Label speakers on Amazon.com for under 20 bucks. And since this is kind of an old beat up pickup and I'm not too worried about sound quality, I figured I would take my chances on these speakers. As long as I can get rid of the rattling, even if it's not the best fidelity, I'm not a whole lot worried about that. Okay, to remove the door panel, first I'm going to remove these 3 screws. There's one here, there's one behind this little panel, and then there's one behind the armrest in the door. So those are all Phillips head. And I almost forgot, there's also 2 screws on the bottom down here to be removed. Okay, so then with all the screws out, then you got to pull the window crank off if you have manual windows like I do. And well, this was loose a second ago, but there's a spring clip down in there that you just need to put like a hook tool on and pull that up. Okay, so there's the window crank, and I just with it on the truck, I just was able to slip this hook tool in and kind of gently pry that up and work this thing out. Okay, as it turns out, I don't really need the panel popper. The whole panel, once everything is free, just kind of slides up and out. You kind of see the way these clips are designed. You just pull it up and out, and it comes free. But then the last few things that are holding it in are these clips for the door handle actuators and this wiring harness for the small tweeter up here. So I think I'll remove these first, and these you just kind of pop them out. I'm not sure I can do this with one hand, but they're pretty easy to remove. You can see the end of it is just clipped in there, and the rod just slides out, or it just pops out and then pulls straight up out of there. So I need both hands to do that, so I'll do that and then remove that wiring harness clip, and this should. Okay, so with the panel up and out of the way, you can see the actuator levers here, and then where the speaker harness goes, and then down here is the speaker in question, and there's this cover that's on here, and that comes off to reveal the speaker, and you can see here that the foam is pretty much shot. So I'm going to now pull the speaker off.
You can have in a school
I believe there's just 3 screws here,
wow, that sounds really amazing,
and then we'll see how the new one will fit in here if we have to do any modification. Okay, so the way this works is the bracket itself is sort of glued into the side of the door panel here. So after the screws are removed, that's got to be pried out a little bit, and then the speaker itself is kind of glued down to the mounting ring, and then there's these clips that kind of go around the tabs on the speaker frame and hold that in place. So you have to fiddle with that and kind of pry it out. With the extra glue holding it down, it was a little tricky to do. But okay, so here is the new speaker out of the box, and you can see it's a 3-way speaker, and it comes with a little wiring kit and a nice grill cover that unfortunately I don't think I'll be using. Alright, so to mount this thing, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the stock bracket in the door frame like that, and then I'm going to put this speaker in, and then what I think I'm going to do is drill through the bracket into the metal of the door, and then just screw it in using a screw. So I'm going to go get the drill and see what happens. Okay, just to sort of make this a little easier to do with one person, I've clamped the mounting bracket onto the back of the speaker here with some vice grips, and I'm just going to pick 3 holes, and I'm going to drill holes in the mounting bracket first, and then I'm going to put the mounting bracket in the truck, and then drill those holes using the mounting bracket as a guide. Okay, so I drilled the holes in the bracket, and then put the bracket in here just like this, and lined everything up, and drilled new holes in the metal. So now I'm going to just see if this works. I'll put that back in, and I'll line the speaker up. Let's see, and I had previously made some marks here with a marker, so I knew where the top was. And I think for this part I probably need to set the camera down so that I can hold this and I'm going to start a screw in one of these holes here and see if it'll thread into the metal and hold it. Okay, so there I got this sort of rough mounted in there, and it seems to hold in okay. Ended up drilling 4 holes, used 4 screws, and I'm using the slotted areas of the speaker. There's other options that you can use where there's a slotted hole as opposed to sort of a mouse bite or whatever you want to call that, and then there's an actual proper hole too, so you've got a few options. I ended up using these just because I thought it would be a little easier, but I'm not sure if this is holding it in quite as well as I'd like, so I might just put some washers or something in there. But it should be good enough for this. Like I said, I'm not trying to win any contests here. I just trying to get something functional. So okay, I'm gonna solder these wires that I have on instead of using the supplied wires. The supplied wires just seem a little thin, and although I'm not real concerned about audio quality or anything like that, I'm just going to use my own wire that's a little thicker and just solder it on here, just maybe more for mechanical properties than anything else. And now normally I wouldn't like to cut the connector here off the truck. I'd like to find a way to reuse the connector, but the way that the stock speaker is, this connector is just sort of too much of an integral part of the speaker mounting. I suppose I could fool around with cutting that off and stuff, but I think it would be just messy. So what I'm going to end up doing is I am going to cut this connector off, and I'm just going to use blade terminals here, just these things. This is the female version and there's a male version, and I'll just use those instead. Normally I like to use the round ones, but I just don't have any laying around and don't feel like going to the store to buy any. So so that's the next thing to do, is to cut the end off of this and then put some blades on here. Okay, there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. In the manual it says that the positive side of the speaker is light blue with a violet stripe, and the negative side is light blue with a black stripe, and that translates up here to positive and negative to the amplifier. But when I look at the truck, I've got a green wire with a violet stripe and a green wire with a blue stripe, and that's the same case down here for the speaker that I'm actually working on. It's just easier to see up there. So I think what I'm going to do is go on the assumption that the violet is the positive, the violet stripe is the positive, and the other color is the negative. Okay, so these are the blade lugs that I've got clipped on here, and I've got the positive one on this side is female, and on that side is male, and then I swapped them around just to help prevent crossing this thing. And then what I've got here is I've got some shrink sleeve tubing, and even though this is not really going to be a permanent mount, I'm going to put some shrink sleeve over these to keep them from shorting out inside the door frame. Okay, just as a quick check here before I shrink the tube, or shrink the heat shrink, I just wanted to make sure that the speaker is actually working. And I can hear it. And so I'll shrink that up and then mount it in.
Doctors Without Borders says
normally I'd like to use my heat gun for this, but I don't feel like going to get it, and this is readily available. That should be good enough right there.
Reported receiving roughly 3,600 patients who showed such symptoms over less than 3 hours on Wednesday morning. Tropical storm Evo is moving to the west as it spreads rain and wind across portions of Mexico's Baja California Peninsula. The National Hurricane Center in Miami says the storm's about 225 miles west of Cabo San Lucas, moving north-northwest at 12 miles an hour.
There we go. Now I'll just tighten that down and put the other two screws in.
In the Little League World Series this afternoon, the New England
and move on to the other side.
Connecticut, who rallied yesterday to tie the game with 7 runs in the bottom of the 5th before going on to win 14-13 in the bottom of the 7th.
Okay, so there's the speaker all mounted. I got the 4 screws in. I was going to put some washers here, but with the raised flange on the side here, they don't really work. I think this is fine. I can turn it up and it doesn't seem to rattle or anything like that. You know, for audiophile work, this probably wouldn't be acceptable, but for driving back and forth to work and banging around town, I think it's going to be just fine. Okay, so here's the door all put back together and ready to go. So now it's on to the other side there. And okay, so I got the door panel off on the driver's side, and we'll just pull the speaker cover off and see what kind of shape this speaker is in. And it's actually almost as bad as the other one. It's not completely separated, but it's close, and just by fiddling with it here, it's making it worse. So we'll pull this one out and change it. Okay, this is the same deal as on the other side. I've got my green and violet as my positive wire, and my green and I guess that's blue as my negative, and this matches what's in the book. So for whatever reason they just used this same wire on the other side, but didn't record that in the factory manual. So same deal, using the crimp terminals, and I'm going to slide the shrink tube over there and melt it, and mount everything in and put the door panel back on. Alright, so here's the driver's side speaker. That's all in place, and everything sounds fairly decent. Some of the reviews online complained that these speakers don't have a whole lot of low end, and when you look at the specs, it does say that they only go down to about 90 hertz, but they're fine for what I'm going to use them for. Well, I went to put the door panel back on, and I noticed that the wire for the tweeter had broke off here. So before I do that, I'm going to pull these 2 screws off. This should pop out, and I'll try and resolder that real quick. Okay, just a quick dab of solder there. Not the neatest soldering job I've ever done, but maybe the quickest. So anyway, time to throw this back on. I think it should work. Okay, so I got that turned up kind of loud. Everything's buttoned up and seems to be working. And incidentally, this tweeter I don't think has been working for a long time, because once I hooked that up and got it active, it sure sounded different to me. But anyway, these speakers they seem fine. for what I'm doing. They might not quite have as much bass as the original stock speakers, but I think they're fine. Let's see. We'll get a little quick music here. And yeah, I think they'll work just fine. So my guess would be that the rear speakers are probably in similar shape, but I don't hear them rattling. They sound okay to me, and I think I'm just going to leave those alone for now. So for 20 bucks and a couple hours worth of work here, just getting everything put together, I'm fairly happy with the results.